December 17, 2021 Luang Phosri Suriya Khemarato Satya Dharma Reflection. Awakening to the most, brightening to the most, in the way of expansively, without holding back, in the way that has nothing to do with the non-attachment, uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself, helping through unwinding and releasing for everything, break through all the limitations, purify through the unbound, blessing through the purification of emptiness constantly. Let's not be stuck with just awakening or brightening. Let's not be limited to a certain extent. Let's not be limited to just body and mind, familiarity or habits. Let's not be limited to just near or far, to just narrowness or expansiveness. Let's not be stuck with just opening. Break through all limitations. That is unbound. How is it? Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself, so that it will purify all the clingings, all the delusive attachment that attempt to be limited to certain extents. Let's not be stuck with just body or mind, form or formlessness. Spread out, awakening and brightening in a way that is expansive, even beyond opening widely, uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself altogether. Purify all the involvements, purify all the attempts of the delusive attachment to involve, so that it will be unbound by Sunyata Nibbana, purifying onwards. There is no need to compromise with sense and sense objects, body or mind, with seeing or not seeing, knowing or not knowing. Let's purify throughout, bypass all and everything, instantly. Non-attachment even to the non-attachment itself, uninvolved even the uninvolved itself. Continue with the purification. Let's not be stuck with just the karmic difficulties of the minds, of the body, seeing or knowing. Seer and knower is its own karmic difficulties. Let's not be stuck with just karmic difficulties of seeing and knowing, uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself altogether, so that it will purify all the delusive seeing and knowing, so that it will purify through the emptiness towards the delusion, towards seeing and knowing. Then it will turn into the unbound. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself constantly, so that it will unlock everything. All the delusive attachment that lock in towards just knowing or seeing. That is the delusive attachment that is always paired up with seeing and knowing, which is locking in. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself constantly, then it will release out all the locks and all the delusive attachments that lock in. The clinging is not only just the knowing itself, but also the objects of the knowing. Therefore, there's always continuously locking in. Too many locks. No attachment to the non-attachment itself, uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. Constantly, no attachment to the non-attachment itself, uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. It will purify all the boundaries constantly. Then it will be unbound towards blessing. There is no purification of the seer and the knower, dwelling only within seeing and knowing, staying with just karma and karmic difficulties of the seer and the knower. no attachment even to the non-attachment itself, uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself constantly, then it will have nothing to do with seeing or not seeing, knowing or not knowing, having the mind or not. It will be in such a way automatically. That which has nothing to do with the non-attachment simultaneously, so that it will be truly uninvolved. Have compassion and great compassion more. Expand out, even beyond opening up widely. Expand in a way that is not about anything within anything. Proceed in the way that the non-attachment doesn't obtain itself. Uninvolved doesn't involve even with itself. Just like everything is not about grasping, no grasping even the non-grasping itself, then it will be beyond senses and sense objects and all types of Dharma. Proceed in the ways that the uninvolved is not involved even with itself. Let's not be stuck with just awakening or brightening. Instead, expand the awakening and the brightening furthermore. Then there will be no limits in the purification, which is called purification of the emptiness itself. Awakening doesn't obtain itself, brightening doesn't obtain itself. Awakening has nothing to do with itself, then it will be beyond awakening. To be stuck with just the awakening and someone who is awakened, it will be stuck with just karma and karmic difficulties. This is the attachment with just awareness. Let's not be limited with just awakening of the body and the mind. Let's go beyond awakening itself, which is uninvolved with the awakening. Beyond the elements, beyond the aggregates, beyond Dharma, which means the unobstructed itself, which means the non-attachment itself. Non-attachment has nothing to do with itself right away, well with it. So that it will be automatic purification of the unbound. Uninvolved even within itself, so that it will be automatic purification of the unbound. Limitations to a certain extent is an obstruction for the blessing, limited to just knowing, seeing the mind, awakening or not awakening, brightening or not brightening. To be limited, this is just an obstruction, obstructing the blessing. Uninvolved within itself, it will purify all involvements. It will unlock all involvements right away, whether it is the involvement with just the crudeness, subtleties, or neutrality, involvement with knowledge, opinions. It will purify all the involvements with everything. So, uninvolved within the uninvolved well. All involvement will be purified, even with involvement with the emptiness itself. It will be all about the essence of non-grasping as it is, non-attachment as it is. Uninvolved with the non-attachment to the utmost. so that it will have nothing to do with the body and the mind or all things altogether. That's the Anupav, or the mighty force of purification of emptiness and extinction, will be tremendous. It will not be just about oneself, relatives, siblings, or certain extents. It will be purification of extinction and emptiness that is tremendously given to all and everything. That which has nothing to do with the non-attachment itself, to be given to the utmost. Uninvolved even within itself to the utmost. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself, even beyond opening widely. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself is the immeasurable. It is even beyond opening up widely. The limitations with just narrowness and expansiveness is because of limitations within certain extents. Therefore, let's purify all the limitations, because that is just about delusive attachment. This is only about delusively clinging, delusively attaching. Limitations with just seeing or knowing is also limitations within delusive attachment, in knowing and seeing. Delusive attachment here and there. Let's purify onwards. Non-attachment even to the non-attachment itself. Non-attachment has nothing to do with itself. Well with it. Uninvolved even within itself. Let's purify the uninvolved at the same time. Well with it. Otherwise, it will be an obsession with just about involvement or uninvolvement, delusively with just my or not my. Non-attachment purifies itself at the same time, uninvolved with itself at the same time. Non-attachment is not about anything within itself. Purify the non-attachment at the same time. Don't allow the Upadhan or the delusive attachment owning the non-attachment. Non-attachment is not about anything within itself. Uninvolved is not about anything within itself. Uninvolved even within itself. Don't be afraid to lose form or formlessness. Don't be afraid to lose the attempt to dwell within the body and the mind, form or formlessness. Otherwise, it will just be samsara circling around on and on, significance and meanings within the body and the mind, on and on, with just about life on and on, circling and circling, on and on. Even non-attachment does obtain itself. It has nothing to do with itself. So why being obsessed to involve with anything to be delayed, becoming samsara on its own? Forming up this body and mind amid samsara, not to become samsara. Purify it. Well to purify samsara, not to become samsara. Non-attachment discards itself. Non-attachment doesn't obtain itself. Non-attachment is not about anything within itself. This is all about the anupap or mighty force of the purification through the extinction and the emptiness. The mighty force of helping through unwinding and releasing totally. Whether it is about happiness or suffering, it's releasing itself. Helping through unwinding and releasing totally. Ordinariness or not is also unwound from itself automatically. This is helping through unwinding and releasing totally. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself, purifying all bindings, all involvements. Helping through unwinding and releasing in all involvements. This body and mind is formed up to help give ending for samsara totally. This is not the form up to become samsara on one's own. The form up is done in order to purify the formed up. Non-attachment within itself to the utmost. Uninvolved within the non-attachment itself until it's flawless, without regret to lose all the states of mind or states of Dharma attainment. Let's end all fear of losing states of minds, thoughts, recalls, emotions and feelings. Go ahead to the utmost. Non-attachment within itself. Non-attachment doesn't involve with itself. Non-attachment doesn't obtain itself. Non-attachment has nothing to do with itself to the utmost, so that it will end all regrets to the state of mind, state of Dharma, so that it will end all regrets within thoughts, recalls, feelings, emotions, so that it will end the regrets to lose the body, the mind, form or formlessness. So that it will end all regrets of losing all types of Dharma. Let there be absolute essence of the enlightenment or cutting deluded knowing. Be deliberate with the essence of the enlightenment. Non-attachment within itself to the utmost. That which has nothing to do with the non-attachment. Non-attachment within itself to the utmost. Without consideration with sound, smell, taste, touch and shapes, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body and mind. To be considerate, it will not be deliberate. To be considerate, it will not cut through deluded knowing. Uninvolved within itself, go ahead. It's not about anything within the uninvolved itself. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. Uninvolved within itself. Uninvolved even within itself. Uninvolved within itself. uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. Use this essence to help give ending for samsara onwards. Use it for the blessing to help give ending for samsara, for cycle of becoming onwards. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself is to be used for the blessing. Use it for helping giving ending for samsara by the essence of Nirodha and Nibbana. Nirodha Nibbana blesses, helps give ending for samsara. This is not Nirodha and Nibbana for the sake of itself. This is not for the sake of ending itself. It is to help give ending. When it is about helping giving ending, then there will be no adding with the grasping mind. Then it will be true ending. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself, use it in everything in the blessing, helping through the unwinding and releasing. This is not the uninvolved in order to uninvolve. That is still involvement within the attempt to uninvolve itself. There's still grasping, overlaying the uninvolved itself. Uninvolved is not for the sake of uninvolved itself. For the sake of the uninvolved itself, there is the grasping within there. So let's use the essence of uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself for the blessing. If it is for the blessing, there will be no grasping that overlays. There will be no delusion that overlays. It will be flawless automatically. Use it for the blessing, helping through unwinding and releasing for samsara. This is not in the way of liberation for the sake of itself, detachment for the sake of itself, because there will be grasping mind that is overlaying there. Then it will not be true liberation. Significance and meanings within liberating or not liberating. This is not stepping over this kind of belief value. Not yet discarding the belief values, being stuck in there. Non-attachment does not obtain itself. Use it for the blessing. Use it for all things within samsara right away. It will turn into purification of emptiness automatically. Purification of extinction automatically. Non-attachment to the non-attachment itself. Use it for the blessing. Use it for samsara and all things right away. It will purify through the extinction and emptiness naturally. It is not about grasping, not about grasping. Let's not be limited to certain extent, otherwise it will be uneasy. It's called retaining suffering, encaging the anicca and dukkha. Normally anicca discards itself. Dukkha also discards itself normally. It doesn't obtain itself normally. This is the normal nature of the characteristics of all things. Anicca, dukkha, anatta doesn't obtain itself as it is. Everything is in such a characteristics. Anicca doesn't obtain itself as it is. It is discarding itself as it is. Suffering also discards itself as it is. All the anatta has no conditions and bound within itself as it is. The limitations of all samsara is like encaging within the delusive attachment. Each delusive attachment is some narrow, some expansive, according to the habit. Just like all beings are encaged, all these limitation is in such a way. Non-attachment well, uninvolved with the non-attachment well. Automatically, it will purify all the limitations to certain extents. Uninvolved with the non-attachment itself, well with it. Then it will end all the delusions to be limited to certain extents automatically. Even the non-attachment will not be limited to itself, uninvolved with the non-attachment well. Uninvolved will not be limited to the uninvolved itself, therefore uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself well. The uninvolved is not about anything within itself, well with it. Even the uninvolved will not be limited to itself. All the involvement or uninvolvement will be all purified totally. Then it will turn into the great compassion of Sunyata Nibbana, purifying samsara onwards. The great compassion of the blessing itself actually, helping giving ending for samsara onwards. Let's not be limited to just involvement or uninvolvement, because it's gonna create engagements right there, uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. Let's not be attachment or non-attachment, because it's gonna create engagements right there. Non-attachment has nothing to do with itself. Be bold with the essence of that which has nothing to do with attachment or non-attachment. Continue to use that which has nothing with the non-attachment for the blessing, so that it will purify the delusion to the well within oneself. Go on with the blessing. The earth, air, water and fire, elements of the space and all samsara, go ahead, bless it, so that it will purify all the delusion to the well within oneself. Use it towards all things for the blessing, that which has nothing to do with the non-attachments. Let's not be limited with just near oneself, within the surroundings, with just habitual patterns. Continue with opening up beyond the body or the mind, form or formlessness, beyond the earth, air, water and fire. Then it will be unbound. Then one will be truly realized what is it that is exactly unlimited. Because of being obsessed to be fixated to certain extents, that's why it's become limited.